been said, we all know the definition of health as a state of physical, social, and mental well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. So that alone tells us that right from the word go, health is not the business of the Ministry of Health or the health sector alone, but it is everybody's business. And as a Ministry of Health, our constitutional role, as has been mentioned, is to ensure that the population has access to the basic health care services. So that means that there are many other players that have to come in or that have a role to play in ensuring that the population of Uganda is healthy. But as a sector, over the last 2 decades, we have developed national health policies that have been guiding us in ensuring that the population of Uganda is healthy. And the focus of those policies is to ensure that the defined Uganda National Minimum Health Care Package is accessible to the entire population of Uganda. And a number of interventions have been implemented, but focusing mainly on health promotion, prevention, and curative and palliative care services. But all these are still centered around basic health care. We also know that as a sector, over the last 2 decades, we have been developing 5-year strategic plans to operationalize our national health policies. And one important thing is that all these sector plans have been emphasizing that the health interventions should be delivered using a multi-sectoral approach. And when you look at these plans, the roles of the different stakeholders, including other sectors, are clearly defined in our strategic plans. So we know what we are supposed to do and what others are supposed to do. However, all the evaluations or reviews that have been undertaken show that that is one of the weakest areas where we have not performed as a sector. Demonstrating the multi-sectoral collaboration or approach in our interventions. It is still a very big gap. Where there have been efforts, they are just lukewarm efforts, if I use the word, or loose collaborations. And these ones have been mainly maybe through the water and sanitation sector, some loose collaborations with the training Ministry of Education, but largely through the health training institutions, and a few other examples, which are not really concrete, to show that we, as a sector, we are promoting the multi-sectoral collaboration. And this is, for me, from my assessment, is that largely there are no clear mechanisms for holding each other accountable. How does the Ministry of Health hold the Ministry of Water accountable for not contributing towards health? A few years, about 2 years ago, there was a typhoid outbreak in Kampala. And everybody was looking at Ministry of Health. Was it typhoid or dysentery? Typhoid. So everybody was asking, Ministry of Health, you are not playing there. But if you really analyze, why did we have this outbreak in Kampala? It's because people were using contaminated water. Why are they using contaminated water? They don't have the proper sanitation facilities. So is it Ministry of Health responsible for this? For us, we are at the other end. But up to now, I don't think that issue has been addressed. We are still waiting for another typhoid outbreak, and then Ministry of Health will be told you are not doing your role. Then the other thing, right now we are operating under the decentralized framework. And you know that local governments were delegated to deliver healthcare services, especially the primary healthcare services. And our role as Ministry of Health is policy formulation, guide developing standards, monitoring and evaluation. But despite that, still issues related to health, we have the mandate anyway, but I don't see any mechanism in place for us as a sector or as government to sit down and hold the local governments accountable for that role of delivering healthcare services. So there are gaps. Still, when health workers are absent at work, the issue is Ministry of Health, why are your health workers absent? But these are recruited by the local governments. They are supervised by the local government. So how can we overcome this? How can Ministry of Health needs to sit regularly, probably every week or every month, with the Ministry of Local Government or representatives of local governments who were mandated to do this and discuss these issues to ensure that services are being provided. So because of time, I'll try to summarize and talk about what are we looking at now, now that we have this UHC agenda on our tables. As Ministry of Health, we are spearheading the development of a universal health coverage roadmap for Uganda. And we have set our time frame for 2020 to 2030 as part of the journey towards universal health coverage. So in order to develop this roadmap, our permanent secretary, wrote to all key ministries and requested the PSs there to select representatives to constitute a multi-sectoral committee to develop this roadmap. And we have done an analysis with our colleagues to really look at what are those health issues, health-related issues in the various sectors that they need to address. And as I talk now, we have the roadmap in place. We worked closely with SPEED, Professor Sengoba. He was our lead consultant in this. And we have this roadmap. And for us to emphasize the issue of multi-sectoral approach, the Ministry of Health definition for UHC states that we are to ensure access to the quality preventive, promotive, curative, and rehabilitative services without financial hardships, as the definition of UHC is. But we have added on through a multi-sectoral approach to that definition, so that as we implement, as we popularize this roadmap, we must be showing that multi-sectoral approach through the implementation and interventions. So lastly, our expectation as Ministry of Health is that we need to work as a broader government, and we need to have an overseer at a level higher than Ministry of Health, probably through National Planning Authority or Office of the Prime Minister, and so that they put in place a framework for monitoring the implementation of our UHC roadmap, just as is being done with the monitoring the implementation of the SDGs. So I'll end there. Thank you very much.
Let's give a